Wow, it looks dark in my room. Heidi ho, everyone. We should now be getting very, very close to streaming live on YouTube, and look at these beautiful faces that you don't see every day. Hello. Glad you could join us. I'm Jeff, and he's Ash. I'm not sure which way to point, but he's got some trade, so let's go straight to him. Hi, Ash.
Yes, we do have a trade. I've written it all up. So let's get to this. Share this one here. So the trade here is in the FTSE 100. It is a short, and maybe I should write that there as well. But there's your levels there. I'm going to talk a bit further about the absolute setup in the US show later on, just to give you guys just a bit of extra value. But we'll talk about the trade in a little bit of detail later on. But let's get this trade on first, because there's another one as well, and that is in a gold long.
Busy boy.
Yes. I've just been looking around. I mean, the environment's good. Now I'm grading this trade a 6, so pretty good. That there is one thing that, as I say, I'll talk about in a little while about what could make it a 7, what's going to boost it up to a 7, and it's just about timing. You know, it might be a little bit early, but we'll see. So for right now, I'm going to grade this trade a 6. I'm going to see if I can get in the room with you guys. Oops. So I need. There we go. Well, there's your entry levels. Now the entry is going to be just under this this daily pivot. It's a bit of an issue, to be honest, because realistically you can get straight in. You know, it's not really too much of a problem to get straight in at this particular point. Yeah, you know what, Jeff and I thought we'd kind of like, and look, I've got my Batman t-shirt on today, so I'm feeling lucky.
No, Ash thought. Jeff and Ash didn't think.
Yeah, Ash thought we'd see if we could show ourselves a bit more today. Yes, it is a UK 100. It's a UK 100 trade. So the UK 100 trade entry at 5916, just under this level here. Stop loss at 5966, and I'll talk about where I've got these levels from in a little while. But in the US show, I'll just give you some of the indicators as well. And take profit 1 is quite a long way down. Now these are soft targets, so you know there might be something that stops that getting all the way down there. So we'll see as we go. If Sweekan's in the room, yes, you are. Now, how are we doing, buddy? You got that hedge on, and you should be in profit. So the hedge was put on in the US session yesterday, right? And you should still be in that trade, I'm hoping. This is one of those ones that you want to let run. Now, you can free trade here because you've already got profit in the bank. So you can free trade this one, and instead of it being, it shouldn't cost you anything. Good morning, Lewis. It shouldn't cost you anything, and not only will it not cost you anything, but you're going to add to it. So you're going to double up your trade. While still double up your trade while still being in profit. So it's going to be freebies for you. So you're going to be double for free if you are still in that first trade, which I hope you are. Okay, so there's your levels. Now the other one is gold. I really like the look of gold. Now I haven't got the best bar, unfortunately, so we might be waiting a little bit on gold. Now let me bring this. Let's have a look. I'm going to show you what I'm going to look at for gold, unless you've got anything really pending at this stage, mate.
No, only the pound trade, mate. Very fair away from entry.
Okay, so. You know what? Then let's do the pound trade, because gold hasn't quite set up just yet, so we can come back to this. So yeah, you go ahead and do the pound trade, then we'll come back to the FTSE later.
Roger D, that I shall do. And we'll go there right now to the 1 hour chart on pound US dollar. As always, we're looking to trade that breakout, which is of the last 3 bars prior to London session. And goodness me, hang on, I'll say hello again. And what we're looking at today is this bar here. That will be our high. That's the high of the last 3 bars range, 1 hour chart. Yeah. That's the low there. So we'll be going short 10 pips below that level, and we'll be going long 15 pips above that level. So let's set that up and enter a new trade. The first one will be the long because we're closest to that entry. And we're looking at a buy stop whose entry level will be, as I said, 15 pips above the high of that bar, which is 1.23013 becomes 1.2302. And when we add 15 pips to that, becomes 1.2317, if I'm not mistaken.
Good morning, LT.
Stop loss is 10 pips below the low of the range, the 3-bar range. The low is 1.22572 becomes 1.2257, less 10 becomes 1.2247. Now I've actually become wise, Ash. So instead of having to remember that, what I do is now transfer that straight onto this chart. Got the smarts about me, see? Nice. And the buy order is at 1.2317. Should never say that before I've got it up there, should I? 2247 is the stop loss. Okay, so that is the buy order. The sell order will be 1.2247 as an entry. And the stop loss will be it's not what I wanted, goose. At line caps, no, of course not. Stop loss will be 1.2317. If I need to explain this to anybody, please shout out. But I do it every day, so most of you in the room would know exactly what we're trying to do here. But if you are here for the first time, you've probably not got any clue as to why we're doing this or how we're doing it, or indeed what we hope to achieve. So if that is the case, then please type into the questions box that you don't know what the hell I'm doing, and we'll come back and explain that to you. Now, Ash, did you want to go somewhere else?
Oh, mate, this is you know what I mean. You know, I graded the trade a 6, but I think it's looking better than a 6.5. So, you know, yeah. Look, I was just going to go through the trade and talk about the trade, and also just look at gold as well, because I think there's a trade on gold this morning, and I can just tell people what we're waiting for. But if you've got things that are important, mate, that's fine. Gold trade won't set up for another 10 minutes.
But I don't think I have. So you go, and if I have, I'll interrupt.
Okay, fantastic. All right.
So I know the OCO could work on a whole bunch of things, but we're trialing it only on pound US dollar at the moment, and it is a test. You know, it's not a proven strategy by any stretch of the imagination. So it's just a test at the moment. Sorry, mate.
Go. Yeah, if you could pass me the screen, that'd be fantastic, and then I'll go through these trades.
You should have it. No?
Let me just see. No, have I got it? Have I?
Suspense is killing me.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, I got it. Okay, fantastic. Here we go. Okay, so let's go through this trade, and we'll talk about gold as well. We've got a little while to wait with gold, so that's okay. Right, the first thing is the FTSE. Why are we entering the FTSE short? Well, I think the big question isn't why we're entering the FTSE short. I think we all know that we've gone through the fundamentals in the FTSE short. There's the entry level prices, by the way. It wouldn't have been triggered in just yet. Yes, Helen. Yes, we're exposing ourselves today. We might sort of make this a regular thing. I don't know. Depends if I get to brush my hair in the morning or not. Thing is, I'm up at like 6 every morning, so I've got plenty of time to kind of get ready. But I get upstairs and start analysing rather than getting myself together, and I always get drawn in. Anyway, so the FTSE levels are here now. The entry's fine already. Everything's setting up already. The daily pivot is just a bit problematic, which is why I've put the entry just under that daily pivot. Now there is something else. And that's Jerome Powell, who is out later. Now, he is the ticket item of the week. So what I'd quite like is this trade to get far enough away by the time Jerome Powell's out and done. So we can gauge, because there's going to be a lot of volatility at that particular point, potentially. So as long as the trade's on its way, then we may well even have a good rush to the downside after he's finished. Conversely, we might have a rush to the upside. Now, at that point, I won't be moving my stops. I'm not gonna shift my stops until he's done. I'm gonna risk the whole amount on this one, regardless. Yeah, Shukri, yes, I am massively. I did talk about shorting Ocado, and we can look at that if you've got the opportunity to also sell into that. But yes, I am absolutely looking to sell Ocado, but for different reasons, which I'll get to in a moment. So let's talk about this and talk about the levels. Okay, so the first thing is, I've got this is a 1 hour chart, and this is my trend line here. Now I'm using the touch here and these closing prices. Now you can see that we're through that trend line. So effectively, it's a break and a retest of the area. So that's why I think the trade, the actual trade level is already okay. This is a decent entry price already, but the daily pivot is problematic, and it might bubble around here, and then with Jerome Powell out, it might just stay there for quite some time. The one thing that would change this entry level to be tip-top even here is the 4 hour chart. And with a 4 hour chart, if this bar is a selling bar, then pretty much, I would be quite happy just to sell at the low of the bar. Now, the thing with that is that when we look at the 4 hour is slightly different. The line comes down a little bit because it's not using closing prices. If it was using closing prices, it shoves all the way up there. And I'm not too keen on that. So if you use these lows here, then it pretty much puts us on where we are. So the 4 hour bar is going to close. It certainly closes on the futures at 9 o'clock. So in around about 50 minutes time, 50 minutes time, this is going to close. Now, hopefully, what would be the best case scenario if you want an entry which is a 7 rather than a 6, then you can wait for the top of the hour and look to see whether that 4 hour bar is closed under the daily pivots, and then you can use the entry of the bar instead of some shorter term time frame, which is what I've entered on. I've entered on the hourly effectively, but you can look at the 4 hour instead, and that would grade the trade a lot higher. Now it looks at this stage that the market doesn't look like it wants to tank, so there's every chance that this does just float around here for the next 50 minutes. And it might even float around, here for the day until we get Jerome Powell out in the US session later on. Now, reason for stops is this trend line here. Because what I'm looking at is, what I'm basically saying is, if this doesn't give way, I still think the trend is in59. And there's a little level coming from up there as well. So the 59.66 level is effectively just giving it a little bit of room. You could probably slide that down a little bit actually, but it just gets it above the R1 level. So it just gives it that tiny bit of room. And in actual fact, I had my level there. There it is there. That's the trend line. So I'm going from low. I'm just extrapolating there. It might be a little bit lower, but let's think of safety first. Better to come out here, see if there's a reversal up here, and then you get pretty much the same entry while not risking until you see some signs and signals up here of resistance. If there's resistance up here, I would still be quite keen to take the trade, but I'd want to get out on the way up there just in case. So that's the thinking behind the stop loss, just going up that just above that particular trend line there. And I'm waiting really for a close up there, but a spike is probably going to take you guys out, and it probably wouldn't be the worst thing. If you get a spike and you get a bar which does spike and gives you another entry, take it. You know, I would advise to take anything short, anything that's setting up short on the FTSE, but just put your counsel in place. You know, don't just leave the trade on, because Jerome Powell, you know, if the market's still here by 2 o'clock this afternoon UK time, and Jerome Powell comes out, he might say something that just drives us right up again. And we do need news and data to help us out. The sentiment is definitely weak. You know, I'm seeing a lot of weakness in the FTSE 100 this morning. And there's a lot of other factors that drive me to look at this and say, you know what, we've got things in place which we should be looking at short, but we do have one event that may just mess us up, and for that reason, I'm going to get stopped out. No problem. Wait for the event to pass, and then go in again. You know, as long as I get my setup again, you know, as long as there's the weakness comes back into play after a potential spike, I'll go back in again. So so there's a few things at play here that we need to be aware of, and that's why we're going to be making sure that our risk is calculated. Now, as I say, my hope is that what does happen, and you know, I can't guarantee this, but it looks fairly likely at this stage. What I'd like to see is price come down here, and then, you know, during the maybe an hour before the Jerome Powell speech, we start to retrace. That leaves us far enough away from stop losses, so any spike might just do that instead and take us away. So the stops won't be moved until the speech is done. And if it's starting to travel, stops can be moved to entry, but only if it's starting to travel after the speech. Okay. Now gold. Now, has everybody got all the numbers they need with this now? Good morning, Starmax. Shukri, how are we doing? Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Ocado in a moment. Let's see what Jerome Powell is talking about. Now, we will watch that in the US show later on. We'll watch the Jerome Powell speech. Let's see what we're talking about. Now, some pretty poor news from New Zealand as well, that I'm sure Jeff will get to in a moment. He is speaking about current economic issues. So, it may be completely benign. You know, the speech might be something that nobody's bothered about. But the thing with the speech is that it's happening. So, it doesn't matter that he is what he says in regards to it not being about a policy statement, not being about a big ticket, a big thing like policy statement or fresh stimulus or anything like that. What matters is that he's speaking, and that will probably put the market on a little bit of a hiatus for a little while. So that's quite important just to be aware of, and you've got to be aware that if you take setups in anything against the dollar, or really anything against anything this morning, you might well have a long period where you're just sitting and waiting for your chart and your trade to move. Now, I don't suggest that you close it just because of that. There's two ways you deal with it. The first thing is you put your trades on and leave and come back later on, after he's spoken. If you find it difficult to sit through some of the if you find it difficult to sit through some of the choppiness in the market, which is likely to be, or you wait until he's finished, and then get your trade on. Or wait till later, wait till closer to the speech and get your trade on, because you're likely to get setups right the way up to that speech. Certainly an hour before, right the way up to 1 o'clock UK, there's likely to be opportunities to get in the market. It's just that these opportunities are much more likely to be a bit more aggressive pullbacks rather than something that could be a bit more gentle. So you've got a choice. Stay out of the market until later, but be prepared to react fast, or put your trade on, and if you find it difficult to sit through choppiness, just walk away, because it's likely to be choppy, and you just have to accept that. It's likely to go sideways, which is why when it comes down to the stop this morning, I don't really want to. My stop's kind of a soft level. I don't really want to put in anything too hard just yet. But it's worth just taking the risk off the table, just in case people buy into that data and then they sell it off up here. So that's that. Now gold. Let's just get to gold, and then we'll get to Ocado. So hopefully everybody's got those. Now, because there is a potential chance for Jerome Powell to, maybe speak and then the market moves, we might also be waiting on gold. But there is a setup here. It's quite weak. But so I'm not going to call this one. It's not as a high grade as the FTSE's. It's a good solid 6. This is more like maybe a 4. Now this area here is where the stops would currently go. Now, really, what I was after with gold, and the reason that the setup isn't there yet, is that there's an upper trend line on the 15 here. And let me just make sure that line's in the right place. It might be there, actually. Let's use the... Well, there's more touches here than anywhere else. It might even be that. It's somewhere around here. But what I was looking for with gold, now you got 2 options with gold. I think the long is on the table, and when we look at the FTSE 100, it does suggest we're risk off today. The Asian session Passover has been risk off. The S&P is looking a little bit weak today. The Dow looks very weak. So with risk off in the market, then gold does give us a setup for long. Now, we talked about seasonality yesterday. How far can gold go when it's in its second worst month of the year? I don't know, and maybe that keeps people out of the trade. But if you just take on what's happening, here and now, then the setup in gold is just waiting for a bar which bounces off this zone. Now, the weekly and daily pivot are right squashed together. Now, I'm going to tell you that the best possible setup here, and Jeff probably won't thank me for this because he doesn't like gold, but the best possible setup is probably one of Jeff's setups. It would probably be something that closes below to start with, closes below these areas to start with, and it'd be even better if it came down and touched that pivot down there. Oh, mind you, it won't. I might be speaking out of turn here actually, because it might not be. Jeff might be looking at the short if that was to happen. But what I'd quite like is for this to set up and bounce to that point, and then potentially have an entry above a bar there. So, and one more test down here would be great, because it would suggest if that's not giving way, then we're going higher. So that looks to me like a good setup. It doesn't look at this stage that gold is providing any significant strength here. Now, the good thing about looking for something like this is that would give us some time to breathe. Now, it doesn't mean that there won't be an entry up here, because there is an entry here. Now, the thing about an entry here is you're waiting for a 15-minute bar to give you some sort of buying momentum, and if that happens, then you're going to be putting an entry at the high. And there would be stops under the trend line down here still. That's still going to go there. The stops would have to be under that particular level. But for me, gold is a long. It's just kind of picking the, it's figuring out where the right levels are. There's the stop down there. So entry are around about 1704. Stop at around about 1696, with a take profit area up here. That would be the DR1 at 1710. So it's a 1-to-1, but you want to let this bar close first. See what happens with that bar first. Okay, that should be all that needs to be covered for right now, mate. I'm just double checking.
Actually, while you're there, I will get you to comment on Sino. What were you looking for? Gold. Oh, you're looking at gold. You just looked at gold. Okay, all good.
Yeah, gold does look good. It's definitely looking like a buy. The issue really with right now with gold, in fact, do you know what? I wouldn't take this trade. at this stage. I think we need to wait for a lower line, and the reason for that is that I'm not that keen, and it's pretty weak, but I don't like the fact that we've kind of broken down on a little 5-minute trend here. And it's as I say, it's not anything to be that concerned with, but that 5 minutes area there has now broken to the downside, and it's starting to look like a head and shoulders pattern. So let's wait on gold. Gold might be one we do wait on before Jerome Powell. It does look like the market is pretty choppy today. The FTSE pretty much hasn't moved, but it's trying to. So it might be a little while before we get some really clear direction on the FTSE. Now, if you're entering the FTSE, then you may well judge it to be the same trade. Gold and the FTSE, the same trade. Gold long, FTSE short is kind of the same thing. You're normally better off going long gold, long stocks. Long gold, long FTSE, long gold, long S&P, long gold, long Dow. Not short. That's a completely different play. But long on both is a good play, because it becomes like a really attractive hedge. Now, the final thing we wanted to talk about was Ocado, right? Aussie dollar, that's for you, mate. Don't like gold indices, metals and commodities because the brokers spread are much larger than Forex. Yeah, I'd go with that. Mid-April to May. Yeah, that's the thing, Helen. You're absolutely right, and this is one of the aspects with gold. It really depends on how we look at anything to do with trading, and if we are people that just want to trade on seasonals, then which is completely valid, and actually, in some respects, I quite like the seasonal play when it comes down to commodities. But if we're going to look at seasonals, then you have to wait with gold. It's just as simple as that. You can't trade it at all during this period, because there's in actual fact you could trade it, but you'd be trading it short rather than long. So the seasonals do play a bit of a part in the commodities. This is Ocado. This is a chart of Ocado, and you can see that this is well and truly overextended. So this does look like an exhaustion bar here. One final fly to the upside does look exhaustive. Now, I like the Ocado play for a short. And the reason I like it for a short is that as the nation comes out of lockdown, delivery food companies, in my opinion, won't be quite as attractive. So even though there's plenty of people with subscriptions for this right now, will they start cancelling their subscriptions as we get back to some normality? I think they probably will. The question is on timing. What's going to be the timing that people start to do that? Because you can already see there's some nervousness in the markets as the economy start to open back up again, because people are worried about a second wave. So maybe at this stage, Ocado might be a little bit early for a trade to the downside. I did sell it a couple of days ago, and I got quite fortunate on it, to be honest, because my broker put me a take profit area in where I didn't want it to put it in. And in actual fact, it spiked to the downside early doors yesterday, took me out of the trade, and actually it started to move back up again. So it's done me a favor, for once, a broker has actually set a level that's done me a favor and made me some money. So I'm quite happy with it. But
hang on, I'm just carving a niche in the desktop here. What was the date? It's the 13th of the 5th, right? Got it.
Yeah. No, it was yesterday, mate. It was the 12th. I put it on the 11th, and I woke up on the 12th, and I was like, man, my Ocado trade's closed. I didn't have a stop, and the thing is, I didn't put a stop loss very close on it. So I was like, how have they done that? There's no way that it could have spiked that much. But when I opened it up, it's because I didn't think I'd put in a take profit area, but the broker had done. So yeah, it was quite fortunate. But I'm still looking for the short in this one. And the reason I'm looking for a short in this one is, there is signs and signals of overextension. But more importantly, look at this on a monthly basis, month by month basis. This is the all-time high on Ocado back in 2019. And we are through and through that particular area. And that suggests that we're going to come back and test this area at some point. You know, it's just gone. And even if we kind of look at this with some trend lines, this here would be a first target. You know, even just to kind of get back to last month's close would be a first target. So I'm still looking at Ocado for a short, but actually, as things go, I think I've been quite fortunate to get taken out of it at the level I have. And what I want to wait for is maybe some extra news on lockdown, see how things are going, see if infections are starting to drift, and also a better looking bar on the daily chart, which does suggest that we're actually coming down after this overextension. You know, possibly we could go to the 4 hour, but generally speaking, I think we're probably looking at the daily just to get a bit more clarity on that, and just to get a bit more safety. So that is the roundup for now, mate.
Well, mate, happy days.
See if there's any other questions. Would you also want to discuss the Aussie CAD? Yes. You've got plenty to get through here, mate. Aussie is your region of expertise.
It's pretty much where I'm focused anyway, mate. So
Brilliant.
Yeah, no big deal. I will address all of those questions regarding the Aussie and give you some tales of woe. No, not really. You know, it's kind of one of those things where and it's going to become advice more than anything. You become transfixed on something, and you've got to be very, very careful when that's the case, because you tend to look at things that may not even be there. They might look like they're something. They might even feel like they're something. But if they're not something, then you've really got to deal with that. And I'll give you a couple of ideas around that in a minute. Lewis, I appreciate that you are kind of iffy about Aussie CAD. I think I've given up, frankly, on keeping the majors in this session. It just doesn't seem to work. So I'll just talk about what you guys want to talk about and go there. So no problem. But the Aussie pairs are definitely the ones that I'm focused on. And the reason is I've got a massive bearish short-term or short to medium-term outlook on the Aussie. And I'm not seeing that in any way, shape or form. We spoke about last night potential stop hunts, and that doesn't look to have been the case either. So I'm really in a little bit of a quandary as to why the Aussie is still afloat, rather than, you know, tanking. It should be, in my mind, tanking. Not against the Kiwi, of course. And maybe that's the place where we should start, because I see there are some questions around the Kiwi. Here's what I think about Aussie Kiwi. I'm on the monthly chart, right? But this couldn't be any clearer to me that we've got a descending triangle. Now, if you guys can't see that, let me point it out to you. But now I've mentioned it, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to see it because it's clear as. And there is that side of it. That side of it's already in place, and the bottom of the rectangle tells you the rest. So it doesn't get much clearer than that for me as far as a descending triangle is concerned. The thing about descending triangles is there'll be people that tell you they've got a 70% chance. 70% is a big number in currency trading. They'll tell you that it's got a 70% chance of breaking to the low side. I'm not against that. Someone thinking that. That's what I'm not against. What I am against is I don't believe the number, because this could break either side. Really, all it is another range. As I continue to say, if that's not a range, then please define a range to me. This is a range, the rectangle, where we're going from high to low to high to low to high to low, etc., etc. Let me now say to you, what are we doing here in the triangle? We're going from low to high to low to high to low to high. How is that different? I don't get it. To me, that's a range, because we are absolutely encompassed inside that triangle. Now, here's the way I deal with that. I do subscribe to the theory that it's got more chance of breaking to the low side than it has to the high. Why? Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. That's the only reason why. The rest is, in my opinion, not accurate. I don't think 70% is the right figure to say, okay, we're going to the short side. What I do believe is when it breaks, it'll do exactly the same as every single range will do. It will either break out and go that way, or it will false break, come back underneath here, and then go that way. So absolutely nothing changes for me. So I'm looking to trade, no matter which way it goes, I'm looking to trade what the candles or what price tells me at the time that it breaks out. So am I slightly biased to the downside? Yes, definitely. And does that play with this particular scenario? Yes, it does. Why? Because if we do something like that, even if we were to go up here and then come back underneath that broken trend line and retest it, then I've got to trade to the short side. Risky to take it off the trade line, less risky to take it off the breakthrough. So A, B, C, that's what I'll be looking to trade, right? So that's exactly where I'm at in terms of Aussie Kiwi. Now, the problem we've got is we're going to have to wait probably another month, maybe 2 months before we get a setup there. It's probably no good to most of us. So what we need to do is drill down, but take this into consideration. We're at a strong resistance level, top of the triangle. We're trying to break that right now. So as we narrow down our options, still looking to go either long or short off this area, right? What we need to do is find out what price wants to do next. Weekly's not telling us anything different, but the daily is. The daily is telling us that this pair has now broken through the most immediate range that we have, this rectangle. It's also putting in big higher highs and lower high, sorry, higher highs and higher lows. So we're cycling to the upside. Forget that line because it's a cloud of price on the weekly charts. But what you need to look at now is what level is it likely to go to? And there's where your horizontal levels are going to come into play. So it's pretty clear to me that this level here is going to be visited at some stage by Aussie Kiwi. More likely today than any other, but not necessarily. It could go into consolidation here, then go there in 3 days' time. I don't know. But the one thing I do know is I definitely don't want to trade it until we hit another resistance level. The news on the Kiwi today, just for those of you who aren't up to speed, was hold on the interest rate. But the statement was so dovish, in my opinion, and it was all about quantitative easing. The Central Bank of New Zealand, or the Reserve Bank of New Zealand, and their governor said that they were going to increase their, what do they call it, LSAP, long something or other, asset purchases anyway. And that's what it's all, bond buying at the end of the day, quantitative easing, AKA. And they were going to increase that by nearly double. They also put out a flag that they were willing to do anything that would keep the economy afloat. I think all the governments, all the governors of the banks around the world are saying exactly the same thing. So I guess that's no surprise. But they did hint that prepare, and they did say, prepare yourself for negative interest rates. Oh, really? Don't see the RBA governor saying that, frankly. And that's why you're seeing Aussie Kiwi just head for the stars at the moment. So there's 2 or 3 reasons why that that statement was dovish in my humble opinion, and I can't see that turning around anytime soon until maybe and this was quite the reverse the other day, because the Aussie was in trouble and the Kiwi wasn't, due to China. If you go back only a couple of days, where the China / trade wars with Australia were kicking into gear because and that was only yesterday overnight, right? But that's how quick it can change. So that's why we trade in 1% rather than 10%, because it can change very, very quickly. So that was a long way around saying I don't want to trade Aussie Kiwi anywhere but long right now, but I don't want to trade it long right now. If you understand what I'm saying, I can't trade long from here. We've missed all that movement. So you'd have to wait for something of a substantial pullback. Sorry, I'd have to wait for something of a substantial pullback before I consider it. For that reason, it's actually the last thing I want to talk about. But there you go. The rest of the Aussie pairs I am happy to talk about. Can we go short? Sanjay, it would be really difficult for me to go short on Aussie Kiwi, despite my bias 1 day ago. I was really ready to go short Aussie Kiwi, but such is the dovish nature of that statement that I read, unless you find a different statement, I can't see anything positive in that statement at all. It's all dovish, all negative. So I can't see the Kiwi outpacing the Aussie, even as bearish as I am on the Aussie. But I'm only short-term bearish on the Aussie, don't forget. I'm not long-term bearish. So no, I wouldn't be trading it short. It's a scalp if you want to trade it short, but you've got to find a resistance level to trade it off if that's going to be the case. Aussie Swissy, dead set keen to get short this one. What do I need to see is the question. Well, this is garbage. This is just noise here, and very, very difficult to find an entry. It would be a toss of a coin here, massive gamble as to which candle you pick to trade. You could probably position trade it. What do I mean by that? Well, if you fancy the daily pivot as the resistance level off which this could launch short, then you could put a stop above here somewhere and just put an entry anywhere you like, frankly. But if you're not that confident, and I'm not, because I think the market's doing weird things right now, wait for a setup. That's all I can say. And I've been waiting for one all day. In fact, I've been chatting to my guys on the Skype for a little bit today, and they're dead set keen, as I am, to get short. But until I find the reason, I'm sorry, I just can't trade it at the moment. FTSE is triggered. Do you want to talk about that, Ash, or no? I'll keep going if you don't.
No, that's fine, mate. Yes, we can talk about it. So I'm just writing it up actually. Just while I had a little bit of time, I thought I'd start the spreadsheet on the FTSE trade. So and I would encourage you all to kind of get this one in your journals if you're kind of going to be learning about the FTSE. Then get it in your journal, like every trade that you do. So I was just writing it up. So yes, let's talk about it. So if you pass over the screen, mate, let's have a look.
I might just duck off for 2 seconds as well, mate. While you're doing that.
You duck off. You duck off. That's all good.
Whack, whack. Sorry, that's a goose.
Yeah.
I've got geese, not ducks.
So FTSE is triggered now. The FTSE, let me bring up the UK 100. So you guys, you'll be triggered in right now to this trade, which is great. Now, there is obviously going to be areas that you guys will want to take profit, and as you learn, if you want to just build yourself some confidence by taking profit in areas, then do so. The reason that I will do what I'm doing is that I've done the research on it. So I've done enough research to suggest that my approach is the most profitable way for me. But we're not together 24/7. So there might be adjustments that I will make to a trade as it's running. And you guys, if you're going to copy exactly what I do, it's just going to be impossible. I can bring you an entry if we are in front of the screens together at the same time. But when it comes down to management, They are soft levels for two reasons. Number one, I will use them for soft levels, and I will use them to see what I might do in an area that I've chosen. But secondly, because they're going to be soft levels, even more so for you guys, because I might do something and you guys might not know about it. And I know that there's been some calls for a Telegram group to update trades, but I have to tell you, I find that incredibly distracting for my trading. If I'm sort of thinking about other people and how they're going to manage the trade through every step, then it starts to make me second guess my own trade. So I can't do that from a profitable point of view. But let's just talk about where we are. So where are we? Let me just get back to Ocado. What your thought about the Aussie? FTSE testing the trend line going down. That's great. Oh, Sanjay, you late into the show. We're already short FTSE. We already short FTSE. We went short FTSE at 528 when we Yeah, great, Lewis. Well, that's even more important, isn't it? You know, I think bringing you the trade is really cool. You know, if I can get you in, then it's really cool. But yeah, as you say, you've got to figure out, or it's good practice to figure out, you know, how you're going to manage it when you get going. Now at this stage, so we entered at 59.16, and we're currently down around about 16 pips. So you're not even at a 1-to-1 at this stage. There is this trend line down here, which if you take that, that's going to be close enough to the 1-to-1. You know, so you have to recognize that this trade is likely to come back on you. It's got a huge probability of coming back on you. And the only reason I won't take profit here and wait for it to come back and re-enter is that I probably won't get the entry that I need to see, and it just will cloud my vision. So I'd prefer just to let this one float around, do its thing, and actually see if I can add to it rather than scaling out of it. So I'm going in kind of with full fuel on this one. And as I said, you know, when it comes down to the setup being a 7 rather than a 6, we really needed to see this 4-hour bar kind of close down here, but not with a tail. You know, that's gonna kind of negate the value of the 4-hour bar being so powerful. What I'm going to wait for is to see whether we can get through this area down here, this trend line down here, and if we can get through this level, then I'm going to wait for a bounce off the monthly pivot or the weekly pivot and see if I can add to the trade here. Now that will be dependent on Jerome Powell. I will not be adding to this trade until Jerome Powell has come out and spoken. Not a chance. But after he's spoken, if I get another setup, then I will add to it, and I'll see if the downside sentiment continues. Now, looks like you're pretty much back to entry on this one anyway. But let's check this one on shorter term time frames. Yeah, I mean it's going to do that. Let's just double check this here. And as I said before, there's a chance that this continues to do all this stuff right up until Jerome Powell. If it doesn't get back above that level and probably the daily pivot, the trade's probably okay. But if it gets back above that level, then there's a chance that you just get chopped around. Now, my counsel to you is just leave it be. You know, it may well be a loser. Now, you need to have in your mind straight away now that you accept that you're going to lose this trade. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to lose the trade. It just means that you accept that there's a possibility, not a high probability, to be fair, we are on the move, but there's a possibility that you will still lose this trade. You've got to accept that. And if you accept that, it will give you the chance to leave things alone and see if they can breathe and see if they can go. You know, if you're taking profit on a trade which has moved a little bit for you, and then you wake up the next day, and there's nothing worse. I've been through it. You wake up the next day and the trade is just banged, you know, in your direction, and you could have made an extra 150 pips. You're going to be sick. You're going to feel sick. But if this trade goes wrong, if you get stopped out on this trade, as long as when you looked at the setup that I was discussing, as long as you liked that, then you can qualify the fact that you liked the way it looked, so you took the trade. But that does mean that you also accept the risk. You continue to accept the risk until it hits a level that you can take profit of some sort of meaningful value. If we don't let these trades run, then we really are making a lot of work for ourselves. Getting into a trade with a and I give it a 6 setup. You're never going to find me giving it a 10. The best I'm going to give any trade is an 8. So the fact that this was a setup of 6 is pretty high for me. Most trades I enter around about a 4. So it's got a decent probability of working out. The things are in line with this one. Yes, I mean your take profit one. Actually, Sanjay, the price is pretty close to where everybody else entered. So if you wanted to enter this trade here, you're only a couple of pips off. So there is still the opportunity there, or maybe even put an order in at the same price. The price that everybody was given was 59.16, and it's currently at 59.12.45. So 59.16. Put the order in there, and stop loss at 59.66. Will I move stop loss to break even? Personally, no, I won't. After take profit one, I mean, I've given you the stop loss is 59.66. I'm going to put it on the screen for you here. No, it's better doing it on this. So entry is 59.16. Stop loss was 59.66. And take profit one. What did I give you guys as a take profit one? I can't remember now. Somebody remind me what I gave you as a take profit one. Can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, sorry, mate. I can't help you.
That's all right, buddy. Now, there's two reasons. 57.46. Okay, great. All right, 57.46. Now, you could probably maybe tighten that up a little bit more. Let's just do this a second. Yeah, I mean, when you look at this, the take profit should be somewhere around about that weekly pivot. Actually, your take profit one. But this is the thing, I'm giving you take profit levels because I'm going to try and give you something a bit more conservative. What you then do with the trade will be really sort of down to your particular appetite for risk. So if you don't want to take too much risk, then this should be your take profit area, no doubt. 58.46 should be your take profit area down there on the weekly pivot, wherever that is. If you are willing to let this one go a little bit, then you can start to use a trend line down here, which was that. Well, that's 5,700 on this one. So 57.46. So there's always multiple approaches to entries, and there's multiple approaches to taking profit as well. Now, if it gets down here, then it will probably be fairly good counsel to move your stops to break even. Now, that's not what I will do, but that would probably be good for you guys, not to lose the trade after it's all the way down here. Take half off and move your stop loss to break even. Now, there's reasons that I'm willing to stay with this trade and let it go a little bit further, which I will get into later on. But with something like this, the reason that this take profit and this one less so, but this take profit will have to be soft, is that if it gets down here before Jerome Powell, there's likely to be a bounce, no doubt. If it gets down there after Jerome Powell, it's likely to break through. So there are going to be, there's always going to be caveats to anything that you do. Now, if it gets down here, if Jerome Powell has spoken, we're down here and we see buy signals, stop losses will go to break even. No doubt, that's going to be the first thing that I will do. I will protect the trade after the event that I believe could take the trade in the direction that I need it to go, if I get down there. So if Jerome Powell's about to speak, then I won't do anything straight away, just in case there is a spike during his speech. But after he's spoken, if the buyers start to come back into play, if they're quite happy with what he said, then I will move stop loss to break even, and be quite happy to say that on this occasion I didn't have the trade. But what I will then do is see whether there's weakness as it comes up again, to give me another setup for the downside. I'm really keen on this one short, which is why I'm not too keen to take profit too early. But it will have to be dependent on what could drive it. We know that central bankers can make a difference to driving a market. That's what they do. He's got a huge sheriff's badge, along with Christine Lagarde in the ability to drive the market, and it can really turn it around and hurt you, but it could also help you. So you've got to make sure that you give it room, but at the same time, you've got to make sure that that you don't allow it to come back on you after he's spoken. So try and be neutral on the trade and the money. The last thing I like to do is put my trade levels on a chart, because it gets me thinking about, oh, if I've entered there, then I'm going to make this. I don't like to do that. I like to look at the chart and go, what's the chart saying? What's the chart saying at this point? Keep it nice and clean. And at this point, it's doing exactly what I thought it might do, which is give loads of choppy price action. There's still a chance it could come down here before he speaks. But as I said before, there's a big likelihood that this just stays around here and doesn't really do a whole bunch. We've had the first move, which is great. We've had a push to the downside, so we're seeing people are dumping out of the FTSE, but there are still some buyers in there. So let's see if we can get rid of some of those buyers. There will be buyers down here, and that's what you got to think. Where are the buyers probably likely to be sitting? That's why the trend lines are there. There's likely to be buyers down here at the weekly pivot. There might be some more at the monthly pivot. There might be some more down here. So at every level, we have to see, what's the motivation of those, but how motivated are those buyers? And when we see bars like this on the selling side, it shows us how motivated those sellers are. So that's why we can go short. It's the same when I take profit and I take trades off. I want to see how strong are they down here, because if all they do is just give me a higher low, a lower high on a 15-minute chart, then that's really an add rather than a close the trade. So the levels that you must put in must be levels that dictate how much you can, how free and available you are to manage the trade when it's moving. If you're not free and available, get your lines in, get your levels in, and be happy with what you've got. But if you're available to manage the trade, then it's really good practice for you guys to see how are these events going to change things, and what happens in this area. What price action do I need to see to stay out? What action to get it to stay in? Sorry, and what price action do I need to see here to say, what, the trade is done. This trend is done, and I should be getting out now. So these are, as I say. Let me just change this take profit one level, just to give you guys an opportunity to at least get that first point. It's on the weekly pivot. So 58, call it 58.50. That's the first level you should consider. And that's what a take profit area is, right? It's the level that you believe could change price action. It's not the level that you say will change price action. So levels have to be soft targets. What happens here? Give me, let me have a look at it at that particular stage. Okay, mate, that's that hopefully covered. But the 57.46 is, if this can get through, 57.46 becomes a little bit harder because it would have run a fair way by that time. Okay, so maybe this level here is for the conservative, and this level here is for the people that are a bit more aggressive. Because I'm a bit more aggressive, I'm aiming down there. But you must keep your own counsel with this stuff. The first thing that you must get into is leaving your trades breathe when they start. Accepting that you've got that you're going to lose. There's however much, there's 1% of your account on the table here, and you are willing to risk that 1% while things are establishing itself. Now, if it comes down here, no way you want to risk. Why would you risk your 1% of your trade when it's gone in your favor and there's profit on the table to take? Not a chance. At very, very minimum at this level, you should be moving stops at break even. Doesn't mean you take profit, but at minimum, you should be moving stops to break even. In actual fact, let's not say it like that. At minimum, you should be moving stops under this high bar here at 59.46. That should be the first step. But moving stops to break even would also be okay, as long as Jerome Powell has spoken. If he's still to speak, leave things as they are because of spikes. But if he's spoken, then absolutely get those stops to break even, because if he takes you out there, then look for another opportunity downside on a different event, on a different speech, on a different day. But let's
Jerome has spoken.
Jerome has spoken, yeah.
Well,
yeah, not yet.
But
yeah.
He hasn't even entered the building yet.
No, he's not entered the building yet. I think it's a webinar, so I don't even know if he's going to be entering a building or whether.
Oh, well, that's right too. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Everything happens at a distance, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, mate. Yes, it does.
That
right now,
it
does.
What's her name? Bette Midler.
It does?
It does. From a distance. You know that
one? So we're not going to have your tune in the show later on, mate.
No, we're not. We're going to listen to Jerome
Powell. Jerome Powell's even trumping you today.
Maybe. Well, gee whiz. Now there's something. Yeah. We could. I could play it underneath in the background, maybe.
No, don't do that.
I'll bring my turntable up. Shall I?
No, don't do that. Don't do that. I think we need to be focused for Jerome Powell. We'll maybe we'll have it at the end of the show. How about that?
There you go.
Okay.
It'll still be the real thing at the end of the show, I'm sure.
Yes. Okay. So what have we got to look at, mate?
Mate, still lots to look at. And look, I'm going to tell you guys what I was looking for. Well, I think I told you anyway, but I'll repeat what I was looking for when the week began and show you exactly how that's panned out so far.
Can I just make one comment? Helen's saying in here, "Sing away, Jeff." I don't think you understand how he gets us banned. he gets us fined and he gets us banned when he starts singing. So don't encourage it.
No, don't encourage. I don't need any encouragement. That's true. I've got to go back to all these questions, and I think the first one was from Emmanuel. Hi, Emmanuel. Great to have you in the room, and thanks for the question. It was about the Aussie dollar, I think. Yes, it was. Okay, do I think the Aussie dollar, before I go, I'm on Pound Swissy. You should be able to see my Pound Swissy chart. And I'm looking for short Pound Swissy, but I want to trade a retest of something. There you go, daily pivot test. It's going to be interesting, though. Really bad place to go short here. The bar in an hour's time. Okay, I'm sorry I mentioned it. Let's go back to the Aussie, shall we? So actually, before we do that, I'll go and tell you, as I said I would, I was looking at 4 crosses in particular to trade this week. One was Aussie CAD, and I'll talk about that whilst we're there. In a minute when we come back. The next one was CAD Swiss, which is here. Aussie CAD I wanted to trade short, right? And this week so far, where are we? We're going long, although it's a mess, right? CAD Swiss was the next one I wanted to trade this week. And I'm trying to find CAD Swiss. There it is. Now, CAD Swiss I wanted to trade long. And so far, it's just going short. The next one I wanted to trade was Euro CAD. Now, Euro CAD, I wanted to trade short also, and it's gone long. Euro Pound was the next one I wanted to trade, though I didn't really say too much about this. My bias is short, so that's gone long as well. There was one other pound Swissy, which I've just shown you, and I wanted to trade it short. That may still be the case, and it is going short. So 1 out of 5 ain't too great. But, and here's the thing, it's Wednesday, right? Wednesday does not the end of the week make. And all of those pairs, I've got my little peepers on big time. So I'm waiting very, very patiently for them to set up and give me exactly what I want. So going back to the questions, Emmanuel, your question, the Aussie is rallying, and can it continue? The answer to that from me is I don't expect it to. We have been fortunate enough to trade the Aussie in a bullish mode, not on Aussie US dollar, but on pound Aussie and euro Aussie, pound Aussie short, euro Aussie short in particular over the last few weeks, and we've done very, very well from them. I believe that that was to come to an end this week, even if only for the short term, and I expected Aussie US dollar to come down to the monthly pivot. Pursuant to what I've just said, I don't expect that that's, my opinion hasn't changed, right? And really at the end of the day, if you have a look at this week's bar, the weekly bar on Aussie dollar is at this point still in a bearish position. Now, can the rally continue? Of course it can. There's absolutely nothing that I say will make any difference to what the market does, right? And if I'm completely honest with myself, what I see right now, if I saw this on Monday morning of next week, I would be trading the Aussie long. And don't get me wrong, that could absolutely be the case, but not this week. This week I see potential US dollar strength, potential Aussie weakness, and for that reason, Aussie US dollar for me is a sell, not a buy. And the target for me is monthly pivot. And if it gets there, happy days, I'll definitely be looking for longs from that point. But, you know, to answer your question, can it? Yeah, it definitely can. There's no risk about that. Do I expect it to? No. And I'm trying with all my might to find an entry down to the monthly pivot. Now, you could argue, and I would agree with you, and I'm even going to place the trade now that we're here. I'm going to trade this bar, and I wish I could wipe that one off the table. That would be good, because I don't like to see two of these together. It's something I don't normally trade. But I do see a double top, big bearish engulfing bar, lower high. What I don't see yet is a lower low. And that is the only concern that I have here. But I'm going to place an order underneath this candle. I'm going to put my stops just above the pivots here and see how that works for us. So let's do that. I will put it on the screen. Actually, I'll put it on the screen first. Then I can put it on there. Makes it easier. So this is on the 4-hour candle. Where's my little thing? There it is. Now be careful what you say, you guys. My little thing is on a text box, right? Nothing to do with what you're thinking about. Get your mind above the gutter. This is AUD/USD. And it is on an H4. Oh, I had my caps off. And we are buying, sorry, we are selling at, okay, the level will be will be underneath this bar. So we'll round that down to 64.49, and that will do us. So 64.49, 0.6449. And we have a stop loss at, right, there's the weekly pivot. The value of the weekly pivot, I've got no idea because I can't even see the blasted thing. I hate that. So let me guess at the moment, and I'll fix this. Oh, I can see, can I? No, I can't. Is that right? The high of that bar is 64.68. Would that be right? No, it wouldn't. Okay. This is a bugger because I can't get the levels whilst that screen is on here. Damn. Righto. See, displaying this makes it very, very difficult. What I can do.
Let me help you, mate. What do you need?
I'll go the other way around, mate. I'll place the order and then I can put it on the screen. So this will be the same, won't it? It won't let me see the levels.
Do you know what? I do is just whack the horizontal levels on the chart first, and then you can see the levels in the right-hand boxes.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just put them where you want them, and then.
So if that's the weekly pivot, 64.83, say, we'll go 64.89. Will do. And the entry will be, there's the low, 64.49. We'll go 64.48, I think I said. What the hell was that? 64.48. Righto, now we've got it. So we'll place the trade first. It's on a 4-hour chart. Not that that's really relevant, but I know you guys like to know that. Look, I would rate this a 5.5. So it is a sell stop. The entry level is at 64.48. Oh, I'm having my own little party here, guys. And the stop loss is at 64.89, I think I said. Okay, so 41 pips of stop loss. That's pretty big for me, I've got to say. Oh, it's only a 4-hour chart. Okay, that makes sense. I'll catch up, don't worry. We'll have our first take profit at 64.25. I'll leave that there for now, and I can put that on the chart, can't I? I think I can. Righto. I think we need a secretary, Ash. Type all this up for us. Okay.
We just saw your secretary.
Oh, did she come in?
Yeah.
She didn't bloody do what I wanted her to do.
I think she's just giving you some fresh water there, unless she was watering the flowers.
That's awesome. Marvelous. Buy at what's the level? 64.48. And it's not a buy, it's a sell. My goodness. $0.6448. This won't take long at all. I've got another 3 of these, actually. No, I haven't. 64.89. TP1. I can't tell you, can I? I'll find it and go back to it, right? TP1. That'll do. Rightio. The order is in the market. Let me find our TP1. So we've got 41 pips of risk. Did I say? I think I did. Yep. our level that we want to take profit first at is 64.20, 64.23. Okay. That's where we'll take our first profit, 64.23. So we're going to have 25 pips out of 41. That's a little bit better than half. That's good. You can take half off the table at that point. Now, here's your option, because I won't be with you to say. Your option is to exit there at 63.77. If you want a little bit more out of the trade, another 25 pips is probably available at 63.55, let's say. There are your two options to exit. No other options to exit on this one. Sorry, not exit, TP2. This is a 4-hour trade. You could then potentially follow this down, down, down. I don't think it's going beyond there, right? But TP2, if I'm wrong, then it could go further. That's Aussie US dollar. Righto. Aussie CAD, I know, was another one you wanted to know about. Exactly the same as every single day of the week. And what we need to do here is wait for a higher low. We're at the top of the range. That's an hourly chart we're looking at. Let me go to the 4-hour. It's probably a little bit clearer. This is the one that we lost at this week. Our only trade of the week's been a loser, and we're still waiting to trade it short. Lower high is the only thing that's acceptable here. Confluence. Can't find any. There's just no trade lines to trade with. So you'd have to rely on the lower high on its own, I'm afraid, at this point. Smaller time frames might give you an opportunity, because we now have options. We've got a trade line through here. So all we'd need to see is price get back below the trade line, probably daily pivot better, and then retest it. Then you can go short. Aussie dollar we've spoken about. What else was there? I think that's the only two I needed to check, is it? I think so. Are there any recent questions? Is this because pound Swissy H1? All right. Actually, there was another Wave Rider trade. That was the Aussie dollar. I don't trade the Wave Rider, so I really can't comment on Wave Rider positions. Look at pound.
Oh,
Swissy
I can
H1,
have a look at that. What's that? Pound Swiss. Oh, H1.
I think it was.
Gosh.
I think it was
H1
Aussie
strategy.
dollar, mate, on the Wave Rider. Hang on, I'll just go back. It was Aussie dollar, yes, from Sino. Possible H4 Wave Rider long.
Oh, okay. There's also one I see from Sino. He's got one later on. Please have a look at the possible pound Swissy short.
Okay, I've got pound Swissy here somewhere, because sure, I've got pound Swissy somewhere.
H1 short. Let's just have a look.
There we go. Oh, pound Swissy I told you about before. I'm looking to go short pound Swissy, but I haven't got a setup. So H1, you're saying?
Oh yeah, I
short.
Yeah,
I don't see a setup for me short. But I'm with you.
I see what you'd be looking at.
Definitely.
Yeah, I see why he's looking at that. Let me just double check something.
Helen, you missed nothing.
Yeah, there is a short there. Looks like take profit at 1.1800. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I think that looks pretty
Where are
good.
you?
I beg your pardon?
What chart are you on? We need to see
on the just on the H1 on the pound Swissy.
Okay.
I mean,
Show me,
there is
because
some.
I haven't got a setup on that. So if you can show me
Uh,
your setup, that'd be good.
well, I mean, it's not a setup that I would take. I've got to say, but only because if you give me the screen, mate,
Hmm.
only because we are looking at it. But pound Swiss, this the you know, if the question is there a an hourly wave rider, then I think there is. Now I don't trade the hourly wave rider, but I think there is. So I'm just going to go through some of the issues that you've got with this. For me, this is an add position. You know, if you were already in the trade and running, this would be a great point to add, but it's a bit late to get in. You can see how far it's come down already. Before you know, by the time it's down here, then there could well be some bottoming out. The daily is the big issue, I think. Now I can tell you that, you know, it has got a little bit of room to run, but when you look at this on the daily, this is what you've got. You've got a potential support level here, and this is a belt hold. This bar here is a belt hold, so it's already shown you once that that the level is pretty good. Now the reason that I said it looks good is because it is a wave rider setup. But a setup doesn't mean that you've got a decent trade. And if you are going to aim for a lower level, then there's probably a little bit of a pattern down here that you could look for. So it looks like there might well be 1.1814 would be a potential target. But you are taking a higher risk with this one. So I think if you're going to enter it, and particularly because it's late in the trend, if you are going to enter it, then I'd reduce your risk down on that particular one. I'm not sure if it's going to get through to that particular point there. It may. One of the other things that I quite like about it, I have to say, is the weekly chart, because the weekly is showing signs of a potential weakness here. So it has got a chance of going. Now, that could well get all the way back down to here. And it's not really a question at this stage. Now, this is a weekly chart. So what this tells me straight away is that the pound Swiss has got a chance to get down to 1.1687, or this area here first anyway. But it's because it's on a weekly chart. The question really for you is will it break down from this point to get down here, or will it retrace first? And that's when I start going to my daily and I think, well, that looks like it could retrace because there's some support there. Let's go have a look at the 4 hourly. Yeah, you see the 4 hourly looks pretty good, actually. That looks all right, doesn't it? You know, for a potential level of resistance. So yeah, 4 hourly is okay. I mean, you are low down and on an area of support here, but the 4 hourly looks okay. Let's have a look at the hourly. Hourly's just given us a higher low, so straight away that would put me off. I think you're close enough to that level to let it go through there. This does flag up some danger. There's no two ways about it. That's flagging up some danger. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to go bolting to the upside, but it does suggest that we might go and touch this level, or at least this level first. Now, this would be a sweet spot. When you look at this, if I was looking for a setup in the Wave Rider or anything else, I'd be looking at around about 1.195. And it's a sweet spot because you've got this trend line here and this horizontal level. Now that might slide down all the way to that lower part there. That would still be fine. So that would leave you, later in the day, there may well be something that could be of interest. And I'll tell you what, with Jerome Powell will affect the whole market. You know, not just the FTSE, not just the pound. It will affect the whole market. So at this stage, I would let this one breathe a little bit personally. Now, as I say, I'm not a wave rider trader, so it's really going to be down to your discretion. But I can certainly tell you what I would do, and I'd be waiting for this one to come back here before I entered it. I think there's maybe too much information down here which suggests that this is holding, and also The daily chart has given us an area it could hold. The hourly chart has given us this higher low. If it doesn't get below that trend line, that suggests that it's probably going higher, and you'd be entering right on top of that that trend line as well. So it could come down, get you in, and then go. So not for me. Now the last thing as well to mention on this one is that there was some data out from the UK earlier on today, preliminary GDP. And what was a significant one? Oh, this one, yeah, GDP month over month came in better than expected. I mean, it's still a huge.
I was going to say, isn't that crazy? You see those numbers and they're all green.
Yeah,
that's not a good sign.
No, it's not. They're all green because economists thought it was going to be worse, but it's just less bad. I mean, it's still awful. So there's no two ways about it. You are looking for potential shorts in the pound. Now, if you compare it to the Swissy, which is what you're trying to do, what are the numbers like from Switzerland? And, let's have a look. Most recent data from Switzerland. There's one here. Nothing there that I would really gauge. Nothing there of any interest. CPI. No, it's not. Oh, was there one there? Manufacturing PMI. Manufacturing PMI weak, but not absolutely atrocious. Not as bad as some of the other countries, that's for sure. When you look at construction PMI from the UK, I mean, I think you've got a good pair there. Unemployment rate, actually, look at this one. Unemployment rate in Switzerland, 3.3%. Actually, that's not bad at all. So, you probably want to go back and just check some of the other data points, make sure there's nothing really ugly in there. But it doesn't look actually at this stage that the Swissy is in too bad shape in comparison to the pound. So I think you've got the right pair. But my question would definitely be on your timing. I wonder whether you might wait just for a little bit higher and then see if you can get the setup that you require. Yeah, can't see anything else. There's probably some further data to come out from Switzerland. It doesn't look like trade balance is positive as well. So economically, Switzerland don't look to be in anywhere near as bad shape as the UK. Fundamentals look okay. I mean, I'd have to go into that in a bit more detail to be sure on that. But yeah, they're on the face of it, they look okay, don't they? But I just think you might be a little bit close to something which is going to give you further upside. Is it a cup? Let's have a look. Well, for it to be a cup, it's almost like the opposite way around. For it to be a cup, it needs a neckline, and really, this is the thing about patterns, and you're absolutely right to spot it. This would be that would be the kind of neckline, if you like, of the cup and handle. So far, that's where you'd want to aim for. But the cup, the handle's got to be on the other side. So you're really looking at that. And if you think about this, for us to create a handle, it's a different pattern now, isn't it? Now it's an inverted head and shoulders. If that was to do that. So it hasn't created the handle as yet, but as I say, by the time it's created the handle, then you're looking at a different pattern entirely, which is again an accumulation pattern. So that would actually be bullish anyway. But certainly a good spot, because look at this. This is kind of curving back up, isn't it? And it might lead you back to that area. But what I was going to say, the thing about the patterns is it's much better to try and look at patterns on daily charts and weekly charts. Now it doesn't mean they're not valid on the hourly chart, and really an inverted head and shoulders on anything down to an hourly is pretty useful. But things like the cup and handle and the diamond pattern, really, I don't really want to see those on a daily. When you gave UK positive economic numbers, which will likely benefit more, the pound or the FTSE? Oh, the pound. The pound will benefit more potentially, and if the pound benefits more from decent economic numbers, then then the FTSE will potentially struggle. And the reason for that is if the pound goes higher, there are international companies in the FTSE 100 which are huge players. You know, they have big market caps. So with a weak pound, it means that people will probably come and start buying some of those big companies, the likes of British American Tobacco and Reckitt Benckiser and people like that. So that will help boost the FTSE. You know, when the pound is a bit weaker, it will help boost the FTSE. So the strong numbers, or maybe less bad numbers, if it does help the pound, that could be another nail in the FTSE's coffin, effectively, if we believe that it is dying, which I do. And what was the other thing?
Did you answer Emmanuel's question on the Aussie? Did you have a look at the Aussie?
Oh no, let's have a look at that. So Aussie.
I'm not sure you like my answer.
Oh, that's okay, mate. Yeah, well, you know, you're a bit like me where we don't trade. I have the templates, you see, so I can look at this stuff. Aussie dollar, and I think I understand what the strategy is. Right. So you'd be looking at a long, I'm gathering. Okay, now let me ask you something. I can't give the strategy away because I don't know who's done it and who hasn't. Are you looking for a long first? Can I just ask?
I would imagine the wave rider. What do they use? Super trend. That would have to be.
I've got that. I've got that. Yeah.
Green, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I was just well. In fact, is it a long? Yeah, long. And is it on the hourly or 4 hourly?
Daily.
On the daily. Oh, sorry. Okay, that changes everything. Daily. Okay. Okay. Yes and yes. I get it. I do get it.
Crystal, I didn't trade Euro Kiwi long. No. Nor do I trade anything at that time of the day. But don't know anybody who did. Nobody's bragging, so I guess not.
You definitely do have a setup on this. Okay, I can't bring you the Wave Rider template, but let me just show you what the daily chart is saying here. Now, the question you're going to have again is how late in the trend are you? And we can only check that on higher time frames. So let's have a look at the monthly. So the monthly is going to potentially give you 280 pips. I mean, you should already be in this trade now, and I'll show you which bar you should have entered on. That's 200 pips. Let's check the weekly. Yeah. Through there. That's a bit of a problem, isn't it? All right, let's see if you've got enough room.
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that, Chandru. I'm already in it.
Oh gosh, hold on a second. If you are long already on this bar, then I get it. If you're looking to enter today, I don't get it, because yes, you have indicators setting up, but you don't have a bar to enter on. Is the question that you're already in and you just want to know what's best to do with it? Or is it that you're thinking of entering? Because if you're thinking of entering, you've got to wait until tomorrow. Yeah, I think, Lewis, I'm pretty sure that was a... Okay, great. All right. I think that question was about the hourly Wave Rider. So you're already long. Can I get your levels? Was it on this bar here? This is an entry bar. That is an entry bar. So if you're long there, then what have you got? You got about 100 pips to that point there. 150 to the downside. It's quite long. Great. Okay. Well, you've taken you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on this. And there's nothing wrong with this trade. You know, this trade has got to break down for the trend to start moving in the opposite direction. It's got to break down that point there. To even get you concerned about that it's going to turn around on you. I don't think you've got a lot to aim for, if I'm honest. It doesn't look like there's very much to go up. That looks like it's maybe 110 pips there. That looks like it's 300. It might get up to that point. So you want to see it take out this high. So the reason I wouldn't have entered in the first place is because I wouldn't have seen the risk to reward ratio being that attractive. But the setup is there, and certainly if you're only just started to trade it, then you're absolutely right to take it. You're right on the money, and you don't need to be concerned about this until it crosses under that level, because this is still trending to the upside. So you're absolutely right. You got a nice trend in the market: higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Haven't got the higher high yet, but there's every chance that we burst up here again. Jerome Powell is going to be making a difference to your trade here. You know, that's the only thing that could bring it down to this point, take you out. And today, that is the only thing today. The only game in town which is going to take it down here is a problem. But I would leave it. I would absolutely leave it, because the chances are it's going to float around here for the whole day until, not the whole day, but until 3 o'clock UK. You're not going to get any real movement on this. If the dollar strengthens, you're probably going to get taken out. If the dollar weakens, then you're probably going to get to that level and possibly beyond, depending on depending on what he says. Because you can see that the direction of travel in this one is to the upside. So what changes that direction of travel is a statement, an announcement, a news release, and we've got one coming up. So that could change direction of travel, but it may also help you. So you just want to leave it be, leave the trade be. As long as you shouldn't have gone in at heavy risk here anyway. I don't know what accounts you're on. If you're on at the 0.02 lot size, then leave it be. But it's good practice. Don't go closing. Well, I shouldn't say don't. My advice would be don't. My advice would be that I wouldn't be closing down trades until they've played themselves out. So your analysis is right on the money, though, Emmanuel. The trade entry, great. The trend, great. Cyclicity, great. The indicators are great. So this one may not work out purely because of a statement, and you're getting close. You're getting close to a significant level of resistance, but it's through here as well. So this one really could go and quite easily continue. But it's probably going to be dependent on later. It may be something else that people are waiting on, and we'd have to check what future events are announced. But for right now, you're in good shape, so I'd leave it be. Double cross on the daily pivot yesterday, right? Was that right, Jeff?
Brian, you've made my day, mate. You've made my day. That's gold. It means you were looking, right? It means you were waiting, and I find that awesome. And I hope you're in it, because I am. Not on that because I wasn't awake, but I'll show you it in a minute. Ash, when you're done, I'll go through
Yeah,
that.
I'm done here, mate. I'm done.
Okay. How do we do this again? We go there. We go. There's too many buttons to press. There, and there. Brian, it's like a father's just had a son. I love it when this happens, because it means you're paying attention, which is great. So we're talking about dollar yen, and I don't know how many times I said it yesterday, but if we get a break underneath the trend line and we get a retest of the trend line, we go short, right? That actually didn't happen. It's all but happened, but it hasn't happened, and we didn't get the bar that we wanted. But Brian's just pointed out and this is one of the reasons I'm short, frankly. If you go to the hourly chart, here's what happened way too late in the day for me because I'm asleep. But there was a break below the daily pivot and a retest, not only of the daily pivot, but if you go a little bit wider, you can see that's exactly what we're looking for here. We're looking for a break of the daily pivot and a retest. We actually got that on an hourly chart. Not only is it a double cross of the daily pivot, it is exactly what we're looking for. You did. Awesome, Brian. Awesome, mate. And I hope you're making some money out of it. Good stuff. So that couldn't be better. Really couldn't be better. You must be a night owl, although you guys have got a couple of hours on me, haven't you? Really cool. Now, when I woke up this morning, I saw this candle and I thought, oh, really? That's such a pain. I want something a bit better than that. I want it back to here. But when exactly what you've seen, Brian, is evident, then I had no choice but to trade it short. So I am actually in that trade, but I can't tell that to you guys, obviously, because it's way too late. Way too late. There was another question. Pound Aussie dollar again. This morning on Euro Kiwi, I was waiting. This is Crystal, waiting for the double cross on Euro Kiwi. Yep. Awesome, Lewis. Awesome. Dolly and double cross, got that. Okay, from Sino. Great question. And there's an answer I want to impress upon you, Sino. For Sino's question is, for Aussie dollar H4, super trend is long, and so is the weekly pivot. And the second last candle is green, bouncing up the 76 EMA. So why did you trade it short? Because all of those things you mentioned, Sino, have got absolutely nothing to do with the way I trade. Not one of them has got anything to do with the way I trade. And you will find that, and I know this is very confusing when you're trying to understand how to trade and you're getting different strategies thrown at you. Very difficult. But what you need to do is differentiate one from the other. Now, my strategy, as I said, has got nothing to do with any of those things. But here's the reasoning behind that trade. As I said at the time, what we have here is a massive move up on the Aussie US dollar. We've also had a weakening US dollar at the same time as a strengthening Aussie. We now are in a position where we've potentially got a strengthening US dollar, and we've got a trade war between Australia and China. When I combine those two things, I've immediately got a bias from a fundamental point of view to the downside on the Aussie versus the US dollar in particular, in this case, but also against every other currency pair. Because the Aussies had such a rally, I felt it needed to come off, and I didn't think it came off enough. I thought the monthly pivot was at least was the minimum where it had to come off. So my analysis is not based on indicators. It's based on that as a secondary, but primary to this is we've put in a double top. If you go to the 4-hour chart, there's a clear double top here. There's a clear lower high here. The only thing that's missing is a clear lower low. And that is primarily what I'm actually looking for here. But there's also one more factor. And that factor is this trade line, which is where I trade, right? That's my thing, is also setting up with a rejection of that level, which was the start. It's also a horizontal level. Then we had a second rejection of that level, big time. But every time we come to here and pull back away, I get the impression that one time we're going to come here and we're going to break through it. And this is paramount to the strategy that I trade. In this case, even further, and at this point, I'm wrong, right? We had a rejection of the trend line again, and then a mini rejection of the pivots. At this point in time, that's now changed, but that's not going to stop my bias. My bias is still short. And if this fails, then we'll go in the opposite direction. But if it doesn't, and we come back to here and get back above it, find DR1, get back below it and retest it, then I'll move my entry from here up to here because I'm still short biased. And until that lower high is taken out, I'm going to remain that way. So to me, nothing to do with indicators that you're mentioning, but I totally get there is another system to trade in completely the opposite direction. Totally get it, totally understand it. And I wouldn't for 1 second say that either one of us is wrong, because both of us can be right at the same time. We can still make money going in both directions. Believe it or not, we can still make money going in both directions. So I know that's completely confusing when you're learning to, in particular, when you're just starting to trade, where you've got all of these scenarios thrown at you. And my advice to you would be this: try not to confuse one with the other, because it'll really get you in an incredible bind. Don't think that I use super trends or whatever else is used. Moving averages, not a part of my game. But don't take trade lines into the other strategy as well, because that won't work either. So it's one or the other at this point in your trading career. Down the track, you might be able to pinch this little bit out of mine and put it into that. I might be able to pinch that little bit out of that strategy and put it into mine. But when you're learning, you've got to play by the rules, and the rules of the strategy that you're trading is the most important thing. Hope that helps. Dolly N, yes, a break and retest. Don't trade into weekly pivot. Untested weekly pivot, 100% agree. If it's tested and broken, couldn't give a toss, frankly, Crystal. Or daily wave rider, sorry. And I'd agree with that 100%. Don't trade into an untested daily pivot or weekly pivot or monthly pivot. Dolly N, did I show you? I did show you Dolly N. We've been there, haven't we, Ash? Yeah, we have. We spoke about it. Right,
we did speak about that, did we? Okay, yeah. There's so much going on today that I can't remember
we cover
anymore.
A bit of territory in this show, for goodness sake.
I know, more overtime for us.
All right, I hope that all makes sense, guys. Euro Kiwi, I didn't say anything about that, did I? Have I got a Euro Kiwi? Yeah, I do. Double cross of daily pivot, weekly pivot by the look of it. Yes. Okay. Let's have a look at that. There it is. Beautiful. Gorgeous. Tough to trade because you've got news pending and you haven't tested the daily pivot, but gee whiz. And you know, that's the thing, isn't it, really? At the end of the day, this can destroy you from a mental side of things, because you think, oh, look at that setup. Why didn't I trade it? The reason you didn't trade it, if you didn't trade it, was twofold. One, you weren't in front of the charts. And two, you knew there was news coming. Am I right? Reckon I would be. So don't cry over spilt milk here. You're really not in a position to trade that at that point. On a 1 hour chart, news can just kill you. Really can kill you. And I don't even know how this was formed, this bar here. I assume we went to the daily pivot and then just rallied, but it could also have been the case that we went to here, then down to here, then back to here. I don't know how it was formed, because I'm certainly not in front of the charts at that time. But any other time of the day, yeah, well, good stuff, guys. You're finding those little break and retest. I love it. I'm done, mate. Oh, how are we doing? Great Pound. Stuff. Have we been triggered? Answer negatory. Good buddy, I think, by the look of the charts. They're pretty slow, as you say, guys, and there'll be a good reason for that. What's his name? Jerome Powell.
Yeah, he's the man. He's the man of the moment right now.
He'll be on our I was going to say television screens.
Yes, he will. He's going to be in the US show with us later.
We'll call it that.
Yeah. Just having a quick look at.
Oh, I've got to answer this one. The more price touches a line, trade line, resistance line, or support line, would it be that the more price will break the line or the more price will move in the opposite direction? Perfect answer. You answered your own question. Could do either. We don't know. We don't know until it happens. The beautiful part is the more times it does it, the more times it is likely to do it. So let me give you a very, very quick. I'm on this chart. We might as well use it. That's probably not the best. Let's use this one.
Oof.
Okay, so there's a perfect example of what a good trade line is. Price pisses off, gets away from it, comes back to, I shouldn't swear, should I? Price moves away from it, then comes to it, moves away from it again, comes back to it, moves away from it again, comes back to it. And that's exactly what you're talking about. The more times it hits, sometime in the future, it's going to do one of two things. It's going to bounce off it or it's going to break it. If you can pick which one it is, congratulations. And I go back to the Aussie US dollar trade here that we're trading, right? Bounce, 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 Skippy the Bush kangaroo. You can throw that one up on YouTube if you want as well. But that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the break this time. If it breaks and it turns out to be a false break, I can trade that as well. And that's why trade lines for me are super duper things. This is giving you every indication that this is a reliable line and it's going to do exactly one of those two things. So it's going to break or it's going to bounce. If it breaks, then we can trade it with a retest. If it bounces, we probably have to wait unless you can find a way to predict that. But then you get a retest. If it comes back above it, you've got a very good signal that that's going to go in the opposite direction. So that's primarily how I use trade lines, and that's what they're all about for me. Skippy used to sing it as a kid. Helen, really?
Just somebody mentioned oil as well, Jeff. So just a quick comment on oil. I mean, I could do a load of, I don't know. Do you want to have a quick look at the chart before we go? it's just
which one?
Getting later and later.
Oil? No, waste time me looking oil.
Well, no, somebody's asking about oil. Are they still there? Or maybe they've left, actually. Oh, no. Yeah, the question's still there. Oil looks to me like some, at minimum, some retracement. I don't know whether we need to look at the chart, but I absolutely would not be going long here. It's not really a short either. It's one of those ones that if I was in the trade long, I'll be taking profit at this area. But, you know, oil looks to me like it's coming back a bit. I'll tell you what, throw me the chart real quick, mate, and we'll have a quick look.
Okay, ready, set, catch it, man.
Thank you, buddy. Okay, so final thing, then we better go and get. I need some breakfast. So oil. Now I'm going to look at it on WTI because that's the chart that I would look at, and I like it. So you've got this inverted head and shoulders with oil to start with. You know, that's hope everybody's starting to see these levels now. So that's there. But what you don't have is a right shoulder. So I'd want it coming back here before I was going long. Now, there's a few things that also put me off oil for the short term. The first thing is the fact that we've got a fairly strong looking horizontal level here on the daily chart. The next thing is on the monthly chart. When you look at this low down here, that's where we are. So we're right on top of that low. The weekly looks okay as it goes. You know, this is the thing. This is why I think oil's got a fairly good chance of maybe starting a bit of a move to the upside, but not until it retraces. But it certainly looks like we need to test this trend line on the weekly. So the reason I'd be looking at oil long, but not here, and I'd be taking profit is, you know, because of the daily and the monthly. They look at it looks to me like they're all on resistance lines. But if oil tucks back into this area and gives us a setup, then we can look for a long. Now, why not go short would be maybe a sensible question at this stage. And the reason that I wouldn't want to go short just yet is that the very, you know, the trade. Oh, and you know, I did say that we wouldn't be looking so much at these short-term timeframes for patterns, but the head and shoulders and the inverted head and shoulders does trump that somewhat. That also suggests that we might well be finding some distribution up here. So it's got to come out a little bit further. But you know, it looks like it could do. And if it can't get through this level here, there is a lower high there as well. If it can't get through that level there, then I think it does probably start its descent to the downside. The reason I wouldn't want to go short is that there might not be enough room. When I look at this on a 4-hour, that's the area that it's got to break down. Now, if it broke through this point, 23.95, and came to back to retest it, then maybe we can look for a short. But at this stage, it's neither a long or a short. It just looks to me like we're just losing pace to the upside. And I'd want to see it come back if I was going to pick it up long. So this is where I'd want to take profit. I'd want to kind of close down that particular trade if I was in it. But that's as far as I would go. I wouldn't want to do anything else until it retraces. So yeah, that's oil, mate. How long should you leave the OCO on, mate, for the day?
Yeah, I've been having a little chat whilst I was muted. Yeah. No reason to change. I mean, a breakout to breakout. Doesn't matter when it happens. Yeah. And what kind of bars am I looking for at the retest? Big buggers. So anything decisive, right? So full-bodied bars is what I'm looking for as a retest.
Fantastic.
That's me.
All right. Well, look, we are done for the day. Thanks so much again, as always, for joining us, and thanks for your questions and your involvement. It's been a good show. We will be putting in for some overtime. We'll be back for the US session.
Look at the time.
We'll talk some more about the FTSE trade in the US session. That one's still kind of floating around as we thought it would do, and we'll listen to Jerome Powell's speech live on that session as well. We'll put that up. Who's going to run that, mate? You or me?
How do you feel, mate?
Feel good.
Then you do it.
Okay.
You're a Jerome Powell man. You do it. Good idea.
Okay. I'll be the Jerome Powell broker for the Happy session. Days. Then I will be the what do they call it? Transmitter? No. What do they call people that give you the TV? Host.
You're the host.
The host. Okay. I was thinking more of the channel. Was the channel. Okay. Who makes it so we can watch a channel? The broadcaster. I'll be his broadcaster. That's the word, isn't it?
I used to do that, you know.
That's why I thought you might want the job.
No, bugger that. That's years ago. I'm over it.
Okay,
I'm over pressing buttons.
Okay. Well, we'll be back same trade time, same trade channel tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 5 to 8.
See you guys. That's a date. Don't be late.